Rodri! 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 Rodri!
Karim Adeyemi. Adeyemi turns on the Jets, blows past Kepa. Watch out, he scores on the counter. That kind of speed can flip a game in seconds. And Barcelona have been moving with similar urgency in the transfer market, working overtime to bring in players they believe can seriously level up this squad. But here's the real question. Do these new signings actually solve Barcelona's bigger problems? And if everything clicks, just how dangerous could this team become? In my previous Barcelona video, I looked at this squad through a much more pessimistic lens. This time, though, I want to switch the whole perspective and explore the best case scenario. What happens if the new pieces fit, the key players stay healthy, and all the stars finally align? How high is the ceiling for this Barcelona side? Because suddenly there are some very interesting reasons to believe this team could take a major step forward. And a massive part of that optimism obviously comes from the Rodri news. All summer, this guy appeared heavily linked with Real Madrid, and it looked like that was where his attention was heading. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, reports started coming out suggesting that he wants to go to Barca instead. That's a wild twist in the transfer story, and if Barcelona can actually make the move happen, it could be a huge pull. Number one, it immediately strengthens Barca's midfield. You're potentially getting the best holding midfielder in the world. Obviously, a player like Rodri instantly raises the ceiling of your club, but there's another layer to this move. It could improve Barcelona while also denying Real Madrid a player they badly needed. Because if Rodri had gone to Madrid, you could argue that would have been their biggest signing of the summer. Forget Diamand, forget Marc Cucurella. The midfield was the area that needed serious attention. Madrid needed somebody in the middle who could calm things down, control possession, dictate the tempo, and take command when games started getting messy. Basically, they needed the kind of presence Rodri has shown for Spain on the international stage. But instead, according to these reports, Barcelona could be the team getting him, and sure, midfield wasn't exactly Barca's biggest emergency, but come on, you don't turn down a player with Rodri's resume when an opportunity like this appears. He's shown his quality for Spain across major international tournaments, and we've already seen what he can do for Manchester City. After that major injury, plenty of people questioned whether he could ever get back to the ridiculous level he reached around his Ballon d'Or winning period. But Rodri has continued to show why he's still viewed as one of the top dogs at the number 6 position. And now imagine putting him next to Pedri. I understand the concern because that double pivot hasn't always looked as dominant at international level as people expected. Some will point toward Pedri being fatigued at the World Cup, and that's a fair argument, but even during the Euros, when Pedri got injured, I personally thought Rodri and Fabian Ruiz looked much cleaner together. Their balance just seemed better, and the midfield had a different rhythm. Having said that, we're talking about a completely different coach and a completely different system. De La Fuente's 4-2-3-1 doesn't operate the same way as Hansi Flick's 4-2-3-1, and at club level, Rodri and Pedri would have way more time together to build chemistry, learn each other's movements, and understand exactly where the other guy wants to be. That's actually another reason why the Rodri signing could be such a slick pickup. Look at the connections he's already built. Rodri has played plenty of minutes alongside several of the current Barca guys. Most of that obviously comes from the Spain national team, but he's also shared the pitch with Joao Cancelo at Manchester City, so he wouldn't exactly be walking into a squad full of strangers. And there's another bonus. Rodri could become the perfect mentor for Marc Bernal. Yes, Pedri and De Jong can already form an unbelievable double pivot, and we've seen how good that partnership can look. But there's a catch. Number one, Frenkie De Jong is already dealing with an injury heading into the season. Number two, I'd still put Rodri comfortably ahead of De Jong overall. The physical edge Rodri brings could make a serious difference defensively. He's stronger in duels, more commanding in aerial battles.
Anthony Gordon.
Gordon opens up!
And gives Barca that extra muscle in the middle of the park. On top of that, he has a habit of popping up with an important goal when his team needs one. De Jong has the edge as a ball carrier, and there are certain situations where his specific skill set might suit Barca better, but overall, Rodri gives you a more complete defensive presence. And suddenly, an injury in midfield doesn't have to cause some massive drop in quality. Flick could use Rodri with De Jong, Pedri with Rodri, or stick with Pedri and De Jong. That's 3 high-level combinations, instead of relying on one partnership to carry the whole midfield. And for anybody worried about what this means for Marc Bernal, look at it another way. Who better for a young, holding midfielder to learn from than someone who has reached the absolute top level in that position? There was Sergio Busquets setting the standard for years, and Rodri has since reached incredible heights of his own. Training beside a player with that experience could be priceless for Bernal's development. Ballon d'Or winner, player of the tournament at Euro 2024, and a player who's delivered on the biggest stages. That's an elite resume. So even though Rodri isn't the striker or center back some fans might have been demanding, he could still do serious work for this Barcelona team. But the second major reason Barca fans should feel optimistic is Hansi Flick. As long as this guy is running the show, there's a strong reason to believe Barcelona can compete. Since arriving, Flick has consistently pushed this squad beyond what many people expected. On paper, Real Madrid have often looked stacked, but Flick's Barcelona have still found ways to collect trophies and prove the doubters wrong. And Flick's managerial record gives you even more reason to trust the process. Of course, that doesn't mean he's perfect, and there's no point pretending he is. His setup has tactical weaknesses. Sometimes the risks are wild, and his aggressive approach can leave Barcelona exposed. But when you look at the bigger picture, his impact has been massive. Barcelona weren't automatically expected to dominate everything, yet Flick kept finding ways to win. That's why having him in charge makes these new signings way more interesting, even when there are obvious question marks. Flick has shown an ability to squeeze another level out of players. Look at Ferran Torres. Before Flick arrived, his future didn't exactly look this exciting. Then his performances improved, his value to the squad changed, and suddenly the conversation around him looked completely different. So what's stopping Anthony Gordon from getting that same kind of glow-up under Flick? Gordon might arrive with doubts around whether he's truly Barcelona level, but we've already seen Flick turn uncertainty into production, put a player with pace and directness into a system that knows how to weaponize those qualities, and things could get spicy very quickly. The same goes for Karim Adeyemi. Flick will know exactly where Adeyemi needs to improve, and that's important because Barcelona can't lower their standards just because a player has crazy speed or exciting potential. If Flick can clean up those weaknesses while maximizing what Adeyemi already does well, Barca could have another serious weapon on their hands. But that's the thing with Flick. This guy has improved players that a lot of people had already written off. Just look at Gerard Martin. Everybody, including me, questioned why this guy kept getting minutes. At one point, I was joking that Martin must have had some secret information on Flick because there was no other way he kept finding himself in that starting 11. But as time went on,
Rodri.
Flick basically made all of us eat our words. Gerard Martin developed into a genuinely solid center back, and when he's been trusted to start, he's looked way more comfortable and reliable. So what's stopping Flick from doing something similar with Karim Adeyemi? Turn that ridiculous pace into a direct attacking outlet, sharpen his decision-making, and suddenly you've got somebody who can stretch defenses and potentially put up serious numbers. I'm not saying he's about to become Raphinha 2.0, Raphinha at Leeds was already operating at a much higher level than what we've consistently seen from Adeyemi. The point is that when you've watched Flick get major improvements out of different players, it's hard not to wonder what he could cook up with another raw, explosive attacker. That's also why I don't think Barcelona absolutely need a new striker for Flick to find solutions. Maybe Dani Olmo gets used as a false nine, maybe Anthony Gordon gets converted into a striker. Gordon has played through the middle before at Newcastle, and there were stretches where he looked dangerous in that role. Sure, he wasn't banging in goals every week, but context matters. Now imagine him getting chances created by players like Lamine Yamal, Dani Olmo, and Pedri. That's a completely different setup. With Flick on the touchline, Barca fans have reason to believe that even without the perfect transfer window, this squad can still find different ways to hurt teams. But there's another factor that doesn't get enough attention: the stability inside the locker room. One underrated benefit of not bringing in a truckload of new players is that you preserve the chemistry that's already there. These guys know each other, they've battled together, understand the system, and there's already a tight community instead of having half the dressing room introducing themselves on day one. That's where I think the comparison with clubs that have gone through massive recruitment waves becomes interesting. Chelsea have had periods of bringing in loads of new faces, and Liverpool have also gone through significant squad changes. New signings create excitement, but too much change at once can bring its own challenges, and that brings me to Real Madrid. I've made plenty of videos hyping Madrid because, come on, it's easy to understand the excitement. Whenever a giant club starts stacking new signings, suddenly the possibilities look endless. And when those additions include defenders aimed at fixing obvious weaknesses, plus a young attacker like Diomande, the hype naturally goes through the roof. You look at all those shiny new signings and suddenly feel like Real Madrid can achieve anything. But here's the catch: winning the transfer window doesn't automatically mean you're going to win where it actually matters, on the pitch. We've seen stacked transfer windows fail before. Liverpool are another example people point toward after bringing in names like Wirtz, Isak, Ekitike, and Frimpong. On paper, adding that much talent to a team that had just won the Premier League sounded almost unfair, but football doesn't always work like FIFA career mode, and I made this exact point in my more pessimistic Barcelona video. Just because Madrid appear to have cooked in the transfer market doesn't guarantee they'll suddenly win more games. New players still need chemistry, roles have to be figured out, and somebody has to keep all those personalities pulling in the same direction. That's where Barcelona might have a sneaky advantage: the chemistry inside that dressing room. A lot of these players have known each other for years, whether that's through La Masia, Spain's national setup, or simply playing together at Barca. There's already a close-knit core. They understand each other's personalities, they're comfortable together, and they don't have to build everything from zero. With Madrid, there are potentially more personalities and competing roles for the manager to balance. You've got superstars like Mbappe, Vinny, and Bellingham, who all naturally want to have a massive influence on games. That doesn't automatically mean there's some huge ego war behind closed doors.
You mightn't believe it, but I notice everything because I'm so focused on the psychology of that battle of the 1v1.
But managing that much star power can get tricky when results start going sideways. Then you've got players such as Bernardo Silva, whose transfer decisions naturally sparked plenty of debate after he had previously been linked with Barca. But whatever motivated individual moves, Madrid now have to turn a squad packed with major names into one functioning unit. And then there's Mourinho. Talk about high risk, high reward. When his teams are winning, that famous US against the world mentality can create an absolute machine. Players buy into the fight, the pressure becomes motivation, and suddenly everybody looks ready to go to war for the badge. But when results start slipping, that same intensity can become much harder to manage. A couple of ugly defeats, and suddenly every tactical decision, substitution, and player relationship gets put under the microscope. Barcelona appear to have a different dynamic right now. The squad already has an established core, Flick has built trust with his players, and the club has shown that it's willing to make difficult calls when a situation no longer fits the direction of the team. One of the clearest examples to discuss is Marc-Andre ter Stegen. There's a reason the ter Stegen situation became such a massive talking point around Barcelona. Reports and rumors at the time painted a picture of growing tension between the goalkeeper and the club, including claims about information reaching the media and questions around how connected he felt to the squad during the 2025 La Liga celebrations. Whatever happened behind closed doors, the relationship clearly appeared to reach a point where moving in separate directions became the cleaner solution. And you can look at the Frenkie de Jong situation through a similar lens. There were reports suggesting Flick wasn't completely satisfied with certain aspects of de Jong's attitude, including a claim that there was tension over being asked to come on as a substitute. We obviously don't know every detail of private dressing room conversations, so I'm not going to pretend every rumor is automatically fact, but if those concerns played any role in Barcelona pursuing Rodri, then the move starts making even more sense. Barca seemed determined to build a dressing room where everybody is fully locked into the project. If somebody doesn't fit that direction, the club appears increasingly willing to make a tough decision rather than allowing the situation to drag on. So yes, Real Madrid's transfer window looks exciting. They've brought in serious talent, and those players could absolutely go on to do incredible things. But Barcelona have something different working in their favor: continuity. A lot of this squad has already been through the battles together, and that existing chemistry could be worth more than people realize. Even when you look at situations like Ferran Torres having reported disagreements with management, that's different from teammates constantly going at each other. A contract dispute or disagreement with Laporta doesn't automatically mean the dressing room itself is falling apart. Those are two very different situations, and that distinction matters. And that brings us to the final reason Barca fans can feel optimistic. The squad is seriously good when everybody is healthy. I've said before that expecting every single star to stay fit, hit top form, and have everything perfectly aligned for an entire season isn't realistic. Injuries happen, form disappears, football gets messy. But when Barcelona's best players are available and firing, look at that starting 11. Even if Ferran Torres is leading the line or somebody like Anthony Gordon ends up playing through the middle, there's still ridiculous quality surrounding that position. Get the strongest version of this Barca team on the pitch together, and they're a problem for anybody. I mean, just start with the goalkeeper position. That's arguably the one spot where Barca could already be locked in for the next decade. Joan Garcia is fantastic. He's comfortable with the ball at his feet. He's an elite shot stopper. And the crazy part is that he's still so young. Goalkeeper is a position where experience can make you even better. So if he's already performing at this level, imagine what he could look like several years from now. He was already hugely important to Barca's La Liga success, so between the sticks, they're chilling. Then you move to left back. If Flick can get balled anywhere close to his 2025 level again, that position suddenly looks sorted too. His pace and power give Barca something completely different, especially in Champions League games when they need somebody who can explode forward, carry the ball through pressure, and turn defense into attack in seconds. At right back, the big question is whether Jules Koundé can rediscover his best form. Because when Koundé is cooking, he's a seriously good right back. We've seen him deliver huge moments, including that Copa del Rey winner. We've also seen him lock down dangerous attackers and create chances going forward. And if Koundé isn't delivering, Joao Cancelo gives Flick another option, especially when Barca need extra creativity against those stubborn low blocks that park everybody behind the ball. Then you've got Cubarsí and Gerard Martin in the middle. If those two continue doing their jobs, I don't think this Barca backline is nearly as concerning as some people make it sound. In fact, I'd argue that plenty of the goals Barcelona concede aren't simply because their defenders aren't good enough. A lot of the danger comes from Flick's aggressive tactical setup, where defenders can get left exposed with acres of space behind them. So if Flick becomes slightly more pragmatic in certain matchups, this defense could look completely different. You don't have to abandon the high line or change the entire identity. Sometimes you just need to know when to chill and stop giving opponents free highways towards your goal. And then we get to the midfield. Man, that thing is stacked. Pick your combination. Pedri and Rodri, elite. Pedri and De Jong. We've already seen how smooth that can be. De Jong and Rodri, that's another serious option. Against the right opponent, Barca could have teams chasing shadows all night trying to get the ball back. Then you've got the number 10 position. If Dani Olmo and Fermin Lopez can stay healthy across the season, Flick has two dangerous options who can rip open defenses in completely different ways. Then you've got Fermin Lopez, who's more direct and dangerous from distance, while Dani Olmo is that silky operator who loves finding those little pockets between the lines. And I don't think it's a coincidence that Olmo has looked so comfortable with Spain. Having a midfielder like Rodri behind him can give Olmo more freedom to cook further forward, and if that chemistry carries over to Barcelona, we could potentially see an even better version of him. Those goals and assists from Olmo are going to be crucial, just like Fermin's production will be. And then you look out wide, and you've still got serious firepower with Raphinha and Lamine Yamal. One reason Barca fans were so frustrated last season was Raphinha being unavailable during such an important stretch. It wasn't because people suddenly thought he couldn't play. We've already seen how nasty this attack can look when Yamal is healthy, creating chances and firing those passes into Raphinha. That's why even without another superstar striker, even without somebody like Julian Alvarez, this team can still cause serious problems. Put explosive runners around Yamal, and suddenly defenses have decisions to make every second. Double Yamal and somebody else gets space, stay narrow, and Barca can attack you outside. Push higher, and players like Adeyemi can punish the space behind. Pick your poison. Now, I'm not sitting here guaranteeing Barcelona will win the Champions League. And frankly, I don't think Champions League or bust is a fair way to judge an entire season anyway. Remember what happened against Inter. Barca's biggest problem wasn't simply scoring goals. They created danger and found the net, but they also conceded too much. That's where the balance has to improve. We saw a similar attacking issue against Atletico Madrid. Barca needed another serious threat on the opposite side so opponents couldn't throw everything at Yamal. When one player is getting double-teamed, triple-teamed, sometimes practically surrounded every time he touches the ball, somebody else has to punish that attention. A healthy and dangerous Raphinha can help provide exactly that threat. So yes, I still think this squad has holes. I'm not completely sold on Ferran Torres as the long-term answer at striker, and eventually I'd still want another left-sided attacker who can consistently create something out of nothing. But here's the key point. When Barcelona's strongest players are healthy, this team is still seriously good. The scary question is whether Flick will actually have those players available when the season reaches crunch time. Will guys like Gavi and Marc Bernal be fit when Barca hit the Champions League round of 16? What about the quarterfinals? Because that's when depth stops being some boring conversation on paper and starts deciding trophies. We already know this squad has the quality to fight for La Liga, and winning the league should never be downplayed. If Barcelona want to take that next step and consistently sit at Europe's absolute top table, there's still work to do. They could use another major signing or two, and they need their most important players available when the biggest nights arrive. But when you put everything together, the Rodri possibility, Flick's ability to improve players, the chemistry inside the squad, the ridiculous midfield depth, Yamal's creativity, Raphinha's threat, and the potential upside of the new additions, there are still plenty of reasons for Barca fans to be excited. This team isn't perfect. There are missing pieces, there are injury concerns, and there are tactical questions that Flick still needs to solve. But the ceiling? That ceiling is crazy high. If the stars align, Barcelona can absolutely make another deep Champions League run while fighting to dominate domestically. And maybe that's what makes this season so interesting. We're about to find out whether this squad is simply very good, or whether it's one or two adjustments away from becoming genuinely elite. Now, I want to hear from you. How far do you think Barcelona can actually go this season? Are they good enough to win the Champions League, or do they still need another major signing? Drop your take in the comments below, and if you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with another football fan. Then check out the video on screen right now. You'll definitely want to see this one.